Shanquella, can you at least fight back?
No.
At least something. At least fight back, something.
Get up, bro. Get up. I'm tired of shit.
Today marks 3 years since the death of Shanquella Robinson, the Charlotte woman who died while vacationing in Mexico with friends.
Yeah, and the question surrounding her death has sparked both heartbreak and outrage across the country. WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre is in Uptown with how loved ones are remembering Shanquella and the renewed call for justice.
On October 29, 2022, 25-year-old Shanquella Robinson was found dead in a luxury villa in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. She'd gone there with 6 people she called friends. They all came back alive. She came back in a casket. And here's the thing that should make your blood run cold. Every single one of them told her mother a different story about how she died. If this case makes you as angry as it makes me, do me a favor right now. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and turn on that bell icon for Midnight Crime, because we're diving deep into cases that demand answers, and this one is far from over. Let me tell you about Shanquella. She wasn't just another statistic or headline. She was a 25-year-old businesswoman from Charlotte, North Carolina. She did hair, she had her own business, she was all over social media living her best life. The kind of person who lit up a room, you know? Her friends called her Quella. Her mom called her baby girl. She was excited about this trip to Mexico. It was supposed to be a celebration, a chance to unwind with people she trusted. 6 friends. 1 weekend in Cabo. That's all it was supposed to be. But within 24 hours of arriving at that villa, Shanquella was dead. And this is where everything starts to fall apart. Her friends called her mom, Shanquella Robinson, and told her that Shanquella had gotten sick. Alcohol poisoning, they said. She just drank too much, they said. It was sudden, they said. They painted this picture of a tragic accident, a party gone wrong, too much tequila under the Mexican sun. Her parents believed them at first. I mean, why wouldn't they? These were people their daughter trusted enough to travel to another country with. These were people who were supposed to have her back. So they waited for their daughter to come home, heartbroken but accepting what they thought was a terrible accident. Then the death certificate arrived from Mexico. And everything those friends said? It was a lie. The official cause of death listed on that Mexican death certificate wasn't alcohol poisoning. It was severe spinal cord injury and atlas luxation. Let me break that down for you because it's important. Atlas luxation means the base of her skull was dislocated from the first bone in her neck. Her spine was broken. You don't get injuries like that from drinking too much. You get injuries like that from severe physical trauma. Suddenly, her mother's grief turned into something else entirely. Confusion. Rage. A desperate need for answers. Because if Shanquella died from a broken neck, why did her friends say it was alcohol? Salamandra started asking questions, and that's when the stories started changing.
Today marks 3 years since the death of Shanquella Robinson, the Charlotte woman who died while vacationing in Mexico with friends.
Yeah, and the question surrounding her death has sparked both heartbreak and outrage across the country. WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre is in Uptown with how loved ones are remembering Shanquella and the renewed call for justice.
A somber tribute marking 3 years since the death of Shanquella Robinson.
I want everybody to remember Shanquella as a vibrant 25-year-old entrepreneur.
Shanquella traveled to Cabo, Mexico in October of 2022 with 6 friends. She never made it back home. Her travel mates told her family she died of alcohol poisoning, but videos showing Shanquella being attacked on the trip painted a different picture.
It's just a clear sign of an innocent young lady who was attacked and her life was taken from her. The whole world saw that.
An autopsy done in Mexico revealed Shanquella died with a broken neck and severed spinal cord. Mexican authorities then filed charges on who they named as the direct aggressor in Shanquella's death. But here in the U.S., the FBI did not find sufficient evidence to move forward with the case.
This father right here is lost because I don't know why y'all did what y'all did.
Shanquella's mother has since filed a $100 million lawsuit against federal agencies. She also filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the 6 who were there, now known as the Cabo Six. In response, they have filed motions asking the judge to dismiss the case. For Shanquella's father, who we spoke with over the phone, he says the anguish is unbearable.
She wasn't perfect, but she did not deserve for them 6 individuals to take her life and come back here and lie about it, and nothing not being done about it.
He is pleading for federal authorities to take a closer look.
But I can be her voice. And that's all I'm asking for is the United States of America to step in and look at this case and make it right. Just make it right to this father.
Attorneys Ben Crump and Sue Ann Robinson issued a statement saying it is not only heartbreaking, but unacceptable that 3 years later, no criminal charges have been brought, urging the FBI to release information on the case and bring Shanquella's family the closure they deserve. Family and supporters say they won't stop fighting until Shanquella gets justice.
A young lady lost her life that shouldn't have lost her life. Justice for me would be to see all those that were responsible to be held accountable.
Jessie Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
One friend said they found her on the floor. Another said she was in bed. Someone else claimed she was sitting in a chair. Think about that for a second. 6 people were in that villa with her, and not one of them could get their story straight about where they found her body. How does that happen unless you're hiding something? But here's where this case explodes into something nobody saw coming. A video surfaced online and went absolutely viral. I'm talking millions of views, trending everywhere, people demanding justice. In that video, you see a naked woman being brutally beaten by another woman in a bedroom. The victim isn't fighting back. She's just taking hit after hit while someone films it. And voices in the background, they're just watching. Not stopping it. Not helping. Just watching and recording. The woman being beaten was identified as Shanquella Robinson. The woman throwing the punches was identified as Dejani Jackson, one of the 6 friends who went on that trip. Now she goes by Imani Green, and we'll get to why she changed her name in a minute. When that video dropped, everything changed. This wasn't some accident. This wasn't alcohol poisoning. This was assault caught on camera, and Shanquella died hours later. The timeline started coming together, and it painted a picture that should horrify anyone with a conscience. That beating happened, and instead of rushing her to a hospital, instead of calling an ambulance immediately, her friends called a doctor to the villa. Let me tell you what that doctor said, because it's infuriating. According to a police report, this doctor spent hours with Shanquella inside that villa. Hours. And the doctor kept telling them, repeatedly, that they needed to call an ambulance. She needed emergency care. She needed a hospital. But they refused. They kept refusing until it was too late. Why would you do that? Why would you watch your friend deteriorating, have a medical professional telling you she's dying, and refuse to get her the help she needs? I'll tell you why. Because they knew what happened to her, and they were more concerned about covering it up than saving her life. Now here's where it gets even messier. Remember how I said the Mexican death certificate listed her cause of death as a broken spine? Well, when Shanquella's body was brought back to Charlotte for an autopsy, the medical examiner there found something completely different. Her spine was intact. Not broken at all. So now we've got 2 autopsies saying 2 different things, and the truth is getting buried under all this confusion. The Charlotte autopsy did find injuries, though. She had a hematoma on her forehead, which is consistent with blunt force trauma. Basically, someone hit her or she was hit against something hard enough to cause serious damage. Her brain was swelling. She had what's called hypoxic ischemic brain injury, which happens when your brain doesn't get enough oxygen. But the final ruling? Cause of death undetermined. Undetermined. After all that, after the video, after the lies, after the broken stories and the delayed medical care, they still couldn't definitively say what killed her.
To this now, it has been more than 2.5 years since 25-year-old Shanquella Robinson died while vacationing with friends in Cabo, Mexico, and her family says that they're still fighting for answers.
Today, a federal judge heard arguments in a lawsuit Shanquella's mother filed against the FBI, the State Department, and the people who were on the trip.
WCNC Charlotte's Jessie Pierre was in the courtroom today, joining us now from Uptown Live. So, Jessie, what's the latest in this case?
Well, every side was heard in this case today, and every party named in this lawsuit is asking the judge to dismiss this case. And attorneys for some of Shanquella Robinson's travel companions are asking that if the case be heard, that it be heard in Mexico.
United States citizen should not be allowed to go overseas, harm another, or be involved in harm with another United States citizen and come back to the United States and essentially say that they're on base, that they're not going to be held liable, accountable, or responsible.
Shanquella Robinson died in Mexico in 2022. At first, friends...
And you want to know what makes this even more insane? The FBI got involved. Mexican authorities issued an arrest warrant for femicide, which is the murder of a woman because she's a woman. That's how serious they were taking this. They wanted someone arrested. They wanted justice. But here's the kicker. In April 2023, U.S. federal prosecutors announced they had reviewed all the evidence and decided not to pursue federal charges. They said there wasn't enough evidence to prove beyond reasonable doubt that a federal crime was committed. Let me make sure you're hearing this correctly. There's a video of Shanquella being beaten. There's a death certificate saying she died from severe injuries. There are 6 people who lied about what happened. A doctor begged them to call an ambulance, and they refused. And somehow, that's not enough evidence to charge anyone with anything. The Robinson family wasn't about to let this go. They hired Ben Crump, one of the most well-known civil rights attorneys in the country, and they filed a wrongful death lawsuit against all 6 friends. They're calling them the Cabo Six now. The lawsuit lays out everything. The assault, the cover-up, the refusal to get medical help, all of it. They also filed a separate lawsuit against the FBI and the State Department for $100 million, claiming those agencies were negligent in their investigation. Now let's fast forward to 2025, because this case is still very much active and the updates are wild. In February 2025, the FBI released Part 2 of their findings. It was heavily redacted, meaning huge chunks of information were blacked out, but what we could see was damning. The friends told investigators that Shanquella had been drinking and hit her head on the toilet. That was their new story. Not alcohol poisoning anymore. Now she fell and hit her head. But the FBI report revealed something else too. Someone in that group thought there were cameras in the villa. Security cameras. And that person tried to get the footage. Why would you be scrambling to find camera footage unless you knew something incriminating was recorded? And here's another detail from that report. Someone saw pictures of Shanquella's body after she died, and they said it looked like she had been stomped on. Stomped on. Those are the words used. In May 2025, there was a hearing about whether this case should be tried in the United States or in Mexico. The defendants and their lawyers are arguing it should be in Mexico since that's where it happened. They want this case as far away from a U.S. courtroom as possible. But the Robinson family's attorney fired back with something that should be common sense. A U.S. citizen should not be allowed to harm another U.S. citizen overseas, and then just come back home without being held accountable. That shouldn't even be a debate. June 2025 brought another development. A federal judge dismissed some of the claims against the FBI and State Department, but the wrongful death lawsuit against the 6 friends is still moving forward. And then in July, Imani Green, the woman seen beating Shanquella in that video, filed paperwork trying to get the lawsuit dismissed. She's representing herself now, and she's claiming self-defense. Self-defense. Look at that video again, and tell me how a naked woman, who isn't even fighting back, is a threat that requires that kind of beating.
To this now, it has been more than 2.5 years since 25-year-old Shanquella Robinson died while vacationing with friends in Cabo, Mexico, and her family says that they're still fighting for answers.
Today, a federal judge heard arguments in a lawsuit Shanquella's mother filed against the FBI, the State Department, and the people who were on the trip.
WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre was in the courtroom today, joining us now from Uptown Live. So, Jesse, what's the latest in this case?
Well, every side was heard in this case today, and every party named in this lawsuit is asking the judge to dismiss this case. And attorneys for some of Shanquella Robinson's travel companions are asking that if the case be heard, that it be heard in Mexico.
United States citizen should not be allowed to go overseas, harm another, or be involved in harm with another United States citizen and come back to the United States and essentially say that they're on base, that they're not going to be held liable, accountable, or responsible.
Shanquella Robinson died in Mexico in 2022. At first, friends told her family it was alcohol poisoning, but then a video surfaced showing Shanquella being violently beaten on the trip. Now her mother is suing the FBI, the U.S. Department of State, and the 6 people who were on the trip. Attorneys for the travel mates want the lawsuit thrown out, but argue if it is heard, Mexico is the proper place to handle the case because that's where the incident happened, where the key evidence is, and where 24 other witnesses are, like the medical professionals and the law enforcement who handled the case. But Sue Ann Robinson, who represents Shanquella's estate, strongly disagrees, saying the conspiracy and cover-up into Shanquella's death happened here in the U.S.
the convenient forum would be the forum in which all 6 of the individuals who were present in the room when the crime occurred, for them to be heard and give their testimony and have their day in court here.
She also raised concerns about a trial in Mexico with a language barrier and navigating the justice system there.
The Mexican civil litigation system is completely different. There's no jurors.
Attorneys for the travel maids declined to say much outside of the courtroom.
We have no comment at this time.
No comment.
Meanwhile, Shanquella Robinson's father, who was in the courtroom, says he is not giving up.
Only thing I can do is stand for Shanquella and talk. Be her mouth, be her voice, because she didn't deserve this at all.
So what's next? Well, the judge heard all of the arguments in this case, but has not made a final decision yet. So we'll be watching out for that final ruling. Live in Uptown, Jessie Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
All right. Thank you for keeping us posted, Jessie.
Green is also claiming that the lawsuit wasn't properly served to her and that the statute of limitations has passed. Oh, and remember when I mentioned she changed her name? Shanquella's mother filed documents opposing the dismissal, arguing that Green deliberately changed her name from Dejani Jackson to Imani Green to avoid being held accountable. She was evading service on purpose. That's the allegation. You don't change your name right in the middle of a wrongful death lawsuit unless you're trying to disappear from responsibility. As of right now, 5 of the 6 friends have responded to the lawsuit. Only one person, Malik Dyer, hasn't responded yet. But here's what should keep you up at night. Nobody has been arrested. Not by U.S. authorities. Not by Mexican authorities. That arrest warrant Mexico issued? It's just sitting there. Meaningless. Because apparently nobody wants to be the one to actually execute it and bring someone to justice. It's been nearly 3 years since Shanquella Robinson died in that villa. 3 years of her family fighting for answers. 3 years of legal battles and dismissed charges and bureaucratic runarounds. Her father said something that broke my heart. He said justice will be served, and sometimes it just takes a while. That's a father who's watched his daughter's killers walk free for 3 years, and he still has faith in a system that has failed him at every single turn. So let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. What does it say about our justice system when we have video evidence of an assault, a victim who dies hours later, 6 people who lied about what happened, a doctor who begged them to get help and was ignored, and yet nobody faces criminal charges? What does it say when changing your name and claiming you couldn't be properly served might actually work as a legal strategy? What does it say when the people who are supposed to protect us, the FBI, the State Department, can look at all of this and say there's not enough evidence? And here's the psychological question that haunts this entire case. What were those other friends thinking while they watched Shanquella get beaten? What goes through your mind when you're holding a camera, recording your friend being brutally assaulted, and you don't step in? How do you sit in a villa for hours, watching someone you supposedly care about slip away, and refuse to call an ambulance because you're more worried about protecting yourself? These aren't strangers. These were her friends. People she trusted. People she laughed with, traveled with, made memories with. And when she needed them most, they either participated in her death or stood by and let it happen. Then they lied to her mother's face about it. I want you to think about your own friends right now. The people you trust. Could you ever imagine them doing something like this to you? Could you imagine doing this to them? Most of us can't. Most of us would like to believe that human decency would kick in, that survival instinct would make us help, that basic morality would prevent us from letting someone die to save our own skin. But the Cabo Six prove that's not always true. And that's terrifying. If this case made you angry, if you believe Shanquella Robinson deserves justice, then I need you to do something. Share this video. Get her story out there. Keep the pressure on. The only reason this case hasn't been completely forgotten is because people like you refuse to let it die. Subscribe to Midnight Crime, hit that like button, and turn on notifications because we don't let these stories fade into darkness. We keep fighting for answers until justice is served. Drop a comment, and let me know what you think should happen to the Cabo Six. And remember, Shanquella Robinson was someone's daughter. Someone's friend. She deserved better. She still does.